Leadership is hard. Titles change overnight, expectations pile up fast, and nobody hands you a survival map. That's why Leadership on the Rocks exists. Hi, I'm Bethany Rees, leadership coach, author, and speaker. And for 2 decades, I've been equipping leaders to navigate the wild, unpredictable terrain of leading people. Whether you're a new leader trying to find your footing or a seasoned leader trying to reclaim clarity, this podcast gives you the tools, truth, and encouragement you need to thrive in both your professional and personal lives. Each week, I sit down with leaders who have weathered storms, climbed mountains, and learned what it takes to lead without losing yourself in the process. If you're ready to build steady, grounded, life-giving leadership, this is your place. Let's climb together.
It's the greatest disservice we give to leaders and somehow instilling in them that the best leaders have all the answers. It's the reverse. The best leaders have all the questions.
This is the Leadership on the Rocks podcast, where we equip and empower leaders like you to thrive in and create harmony between your professional and personal lives. I'm your host, Bethany Rees, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking with leadership strategist and curiosity expert, Dr. Debra Clary, about how leaders can use curiosity and better questions to drive innovation, strengthen collaboration, and unlock the potential of their teams. Dr. Debra Clary is a leadership strategist, keynote speaker, and author of the award-winning book, The Curiosity Curve, a leader's guide to growth and transformation through bold questions. Over a 4-decade career spanning companies such as, and we've all partaken of these companies, but companies like Frito-Lay, Coca-Cola, Jack Daniels, and then Humana, she has held senior leadership roles in operations, strategy, marketing, and leadership development. Now, Debra's work focuses on one powerful idea. Curiosity is not a soft skill. It is a strategic advantage. Through her research-based curiosity curve framework and assessment, she helps leaders and organizations strengthen decision-making, unlock innovation, and build cultures where people feel safe to challenge assumptions and pursue better answers. Today, through the Clary Group, Debra works with executive teams, conferences, and organizations around the world to turn curiosity into a measurable leadership capability. Her mission is to help leaders move from certainty to curiosity, because the questions leaders ask shape the performance, culture, and future of their organizations. Welcome to the Leadership on the Rocks podcast, Dr. Clary. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, man. Well, I have to start off with, number one, I love your topic. I taught Gifted and Talented, where we specifically teach curiosity, creative thinking. But my mind went to, but we always hear phrases, curiosity killed the cat. And then if you've had kids or been in a room with kids watching Curious George, his curiosity gets him into like all kinds of trouble. And so we know that, honestly, leadership can feel like that. Like, if I'm curious, guess what? I can almost make a mess of things. But you and I know that, well, that's actually where leadership grows and all growth happens. And that's why I'm excited to dive into this topic of just expand our minds with curiosity. So if you don't mind, can we start with the big idea? You know, you talk about curiosity as a leadership capability, not necessarily a personality trait. And so what does that actually mean? Let's get a working definition of what do you mean by curiosity and why it's so critical for leaders today.
Yeah, so curiosity is the definition, my definition is that being genuinely interested in self and others. And so it's about this opportunity to explore the current situation, to explore what's possible. And you mentioned, curiosity killed the cat. And we are born curious that, we come into this world knowing nothing. And we're looking and exploring. As a matter of fact, a group of scientists out of London determined that children ask 298 questions a day. So that could also be just, they're pointing at something or they're asking a question. And by the time we're adults, we ask about 5 questions. So we've significantly decreased the amount of exploration that we're in every day. Now, the reason that is, now you are a teacher, and I totally respect teachers, and my daughter is a teacher, but we begin to learn to be incurious. So for me, being a 4-year-old in Sunday school, we learned about Adam and Eve, and allegedly Eve got curious and she ate of the tree of knowledge, and then, mayhem fell over the world. right? So, oh my gosh, don't get too curious. And then, of course, don't open Pandora's box. Whatever you do, do not open Pandora's box. And then curiosity killed the cat. And in my book, The Curiosity Curve, I wrote that curiosity killed the cat. My editor came back and said, you need to cite that. And I'm like, my mother.
Yeah,
my
there you
mother,
go. Everybody's mother.
Miss Erickson. Look, we have to take it out of the book or you have to cite it. And I thought they were being a little hard on me. So I was like, all right, fine. I will do my research. Well, it's actually attributed to William Shakespeare in 1589. And curiosity killed the cat is only the first part of the sentence. Curiosity killed the cat, comma, but satisfaction brought it back.
Oh, I've never heard that. That is so cool.
I know. What would our lives have been like if all of our teachers and our mothers were telling us that piece of that? And so, for a lot of reasons, we are taught to be curious, in the sense of there's about safety, don't touch the stove or don't run into the street. You need to sit in your seat and raise your hand. There's all good reasons why we're protecting our children. But I wonder if we've indexed too far if we're only asking 5 questions as adults.
That's so good. And thinking about even how you started with the definition, you said genuine interest. Genuine. Oh, it doesn't mean I'm trying to be snarky of asking questions to make myself, look more intelligent or to shred your argument apart. There's a genuine, hey, let's dive deeper into this. And I can't believe I've never heard the full quote. I'm actually not shocked. But the satisfaction brought the cat back. And as an educator, I am tracking with you. I have literally taught K-12. I've taught every single grade level. Elementary, thousands of questions all the time. By the time you get to high school, it's like one word, like bruh, hey miss. And you might get a question, can't go to the bathroom. And that's about it. They don't question the system anymore. And it's really sad. So let's make this shift now that we know what curiosity is, that genuine interest. But then we know how we've kind of killed it off in adults. How do we bring it back as leaders? Because I know many leaders feel the pressure to conform to the system, to look like we have all the answers. And I personally can attest to that. At my first year in leadership, and I got a skip level promotion, so I really didn't know a whole bunch of stuff. But I felt the pressure I have to know all the answers. And that kept me up at night. So how do we challenge that assumption that we have to know all the answers, that we can actually lead with questions?
It's the greatest disservice we give to leaders, and somehow instilling in them that the best leaders have all the answers. It's the reverse. The best leaders have all the questions. Ooh. Now you think about this. So we're taught to be curious as children, and then we go to the university and we become an accountant or a lawyer or a medical doctor, and we have this expertise and we're rewarded for that expertise, right? I'm being paid for my expertise. And oh, by the way, I have constraints on my time. And so I'm just rushing to get things done. I've had so much pressure to get things done, is that we don't leave space to be curious. So how does a leader begin? First, it is the mindset of understanding that there is a direct correlation between leadership, performance, and curiosity. So I'm a scientist. And so I had this hypothesis that curiosity might be missing in the workforce. I worked for Fortune 40 companies all my life, navigating complex systems, and I began to see a decline in culture and how people were feeling connected to the organization or not. And that also impacts productivity. But I didn't know, I couldn't put my finger on what was happening? What was happening here? And so I commissioned a group of researchers to go out and study one question. And they came out, we're going to do this. We're going to go, nope, I only want one question. And if I like it, we'll go further. And it was, what is the relatedness between leadership, performance, and curiosity? Is there a correlation? 3 months later, they came back and said, how'd you know? Again, 4 decades in corporate America, realizing that. And so once we had that answer, then we began to go deeper. Because when I'm talking to CEOs and executives, the curiosity seems, oh, that's soft. That's like Curious George, and it's like a rabbit hole. And I have to come with it as the data that this actually drives performance. So curiosity is a hard skill. It is the sense of the more open we are, the more that we are exploring, the greater results that we're going to send. So I approach it from a scientific perspective, and then I back into it is how do we put it into the culture?
Oh, it's so good. Thank you for telling us that, because so many people, whenever it gets to soft things, the system has taught us in leadership of we need to focus on hard, but we know, especially here recently, soft skills really do matter. And while we may think it's soft, it's hard. So teach us more. How do we make the shift? And, going from, I feel like I got to know all the answers to, no, I can actually bring curiosity and questions because it's powerful. So walk us through the science for all of those out there that really need to know, prove it.
Yeah. So it begins with the mind and the heart, in the sense of, I really do want to create better outcomes for the organization. And I want to create a better environment for my team to deliver that, right? So you start with, I think we can get better. And now there's some science that indicates that we can. So how you begin is, first I begin with me. I'm willing to step into a new behavior as a leader. And some of those behaviors are when you are in meeting with your team and somebody asks a question, you celebrate that. And I don't mean like balloons and confetti, but in the sense of you're welcoming that question and saying, let's explore it. The best thing a leader can do when they're asked a question is to say, I don't know, but let's explore it, right? Let's have a conversation around this. And you begin to create the environment and a pattern where your team realizes wow, they're welcoming questions. And also, welcome when someone challenges the status quo. I don't understand why we're doing this. This doesn't make sense. And they have an idea and say, I want to hear more. And it's just beginning to, within your own team, signaling that I am someone that is open to questions. I'm opening to challenge the status quo because it'll be a better place to work and it'll produce more outcomes.
Man, think about the humility in that. I'm going to go back to your word genuine. You said it starts in the head and the heart. I have to do the humble work of saying, I don't know it all and I can't carry it all. Other people out there can bring better things to the table than I can. Now, I offer something as well, but it's not all about me. So that head and that heart. And then whenever, you're stepping into that role of leading others, making it psychologically safe. This is safe. And a lot of times you do that by going first, showing your vulnerability. I love it. I don't know. Let's explore. It's okay to say those words. And as you were talking about the celebrations, the first thing that came to my mind is just having gratitude of, thank you for asking that question. That's not an angle I would have thought about. And you brought it to the forefront. Thank you. That's a way to celebrate it, making it psychologically safe. And everybody's like, he just thought, was thanking her for asking that question. It's safe for me to ask a question too. Boom. Now you've kicked open the door to all of this stuff. It's so, so good. And so, curiosity sounds simple, asking some questions, but the reality is it still feels risky, especially if you're in a corporate environment, where there's, small entrepreneurs. It's more like I consider small entrepreneurs or small businesses speedboats. They can make decisions because they have a small band of leaders or ownership. But whenever you're in large corporations or systems or organizations, it's more like that naval ship that it's it takes forever to turn something around. It can't do the speedboat thing. So what would you say to the leader who's like, okay, I get it. Curiosity. Let's ask some questions. But I am in a system or organization and it still feels risky. What would you say to them?
Yeah. So first off, you can control your team. I mean, you can create the environment for your own team. So we just talked about what that is, right? So now the question is, well, how do I influence my leader or my leader's leader? Because they don't get what I get. They're not curious. And so it's one of first modeling it, right? In terms of your own team, like, well, he or she leads in a different way. Now, then you get back into psychology, like, why is this environment not safe for people to ask questions? Why do I not feel safe to challenge my boss or that, right? So it's because of how the leader has been trained and developed themselves. So how do you start this? is I would not recommend going in and saying, oh, I just learned all about curiosity and I want you to be curious like me. No, you walk in and you have an idea, you have a question, and you preface it with, I want my team to be able to do the best work possible and deliver the best performance. And I'm wondering about X, Y, and Z. So you put it on the front end that the reason I'm asking this question or challenging it is because I think there might be a different opportunity and I'd love to get your idea on it. So you're enrolling that person, you're bringing them in of, I want to improve performance. How could we do that?
If you're enjoying the Leadership on the Rocks podcast, be sure to subscribe and follow so you don't miss a single episode. And also, please rate the show. We hope to earn 5 stars in serving you in leadership. And through your ratings, it'll help us get the word out about what we do here at Leadership on the Rocks. Now, back to the show. Oh, that's so good. And I think that's a huge skill set in leading up. Is you walk in with the perspective, and I love that you called out the psychology of this, of let me dangle the vision of something that they care about, success, or whatever, solving a problem. And so I really want my team to be able to do this, for you or however you would word that. And then you ask the open-ended question, I wonder about, and it's not accusatory. It's I'm thinking out loud. And I know that you have input on this. Join me in this conversation. It's very open-ended, and it really does change the whole dynamic leading up. I thank you so much for that. In thinking about curiosity, let's shift to, okay, I know I need to be more open-ended. I need to make it psychologically safe for people to ask questions, to challenge norms or the status quo. That's how we're going to get some innovation. But how does curiosity actually improve decision-making? Like, how does it go from thought, let's all sit at the table and ask lots of big questions, brainstorm type things or whatever. How does it make the shift to actually making better decisions?
Well, you make better decisions when you have additional inputs. So when you're the only one making a decision, you're using your experience, your certainty on how it is to be done. When you bring others in, especially others that are in different departments that have different perspectives, that's when you can take in an array of possibilities and an array of consequences. Like, here are the consequences upstream and downstream if we do it in that direction. So that's why it improves the quality of your decisions. And I'll give you an example of this in the world of action learning, which is a method of coaching teams. So it was written in that book, Action Learning. And so this group of engineers were in a conference room all day, going into the night, and on the wall are a bunch of flip charts and graphs and flow charts, and they were stumped. They could not figure out what the problem was with their design. And so the manager says, I'm so sorry, but we're going to have to work through dinner. I'm going to order pizza. So the Domino's pizza guy comes in, lays all the pizza out, and he's kind of looking at the wall, and he just says, what are y'all doing? And they told him, then they said, hey, would you listen to this and maybe you could help us understand what might be missing? And the Domino's guy figured it out because it was a fresh perspective. He was not an engineer, but could logically step back and see it. And it's been said that sometimes you can't see the frame when you're in the picture, and they were in the picture, but couldn't see the larger piece of that. And that's the power of curiosity.
Oh, it's so true. Just like if you're doing a puzzle at the table and somebody walks by and they're like, oh, this goes here. And you're like, what? I've been staring at this puzzle piece forever.
It's a fresh perspective.
Oh, so good. All right. So we've talked about curiosity is really important. It's genuine. It needs to be genuine. Start with the head, start with the heart, go first in saying, I don't know. It's okay. Move from certainty to curiosity, make it psychologically safe for people to challenge the status quo. You said when it comes to decision making, it's going to provide so much more input so that you can get a better perspective to make a better decision. I'm going to anchor that in my brain, the Domino's guy. How can I go find my Domino's guy to ask about how to solve this problem? And, one of the things I thought about in just thinking about your topic and expertise, I come from the education background, and as an administrator, I'm sure people know this, but we handle a ton of conflict. We're handling conflict student to student. We're handling conflict student to teacher, teacher to teacher, parent to teacher, parent to student, parent to parent at ball games. I have thrown some parents out of ball games, lots and lots of conflict. And so as I was thinking about, all of the amazing things you're talking about with curiosity, my brain went to, hey, I used so much curiosity to help me de-escalate conflict. So can you share how curiosity actually can be powerful in the midst of conflict?
Yeah. So first off, if the conflict is with yourself, just know that, you're like having some kind of moment. Fear and curiosity cannot coexist in the brain.
Ooh.
When we're in fear, the brain is washed with all that cortisol, all those hormones you're just like a big traffic jam, right? Mm-hmm. But when you ask yourself a question, it all begins to release in that. So fear and curiosity cannot coexist. So if you have two parents at a ball game that are going at it and they're both having some kind of a fear going on, it's, they're fighting, so to speak, fight or flight, is if you were to ask them a question of, take a breath, let's everyone talk about what's happening here. What's your side of the story? What's your side of the story? And you might have to take them away from the children.
Yeah, always.
Please step away from the children. But the sense of when you ask a question, it changes your brain.
Mm-hmm. I think that just makes it it's like your first aid. In first aid, we're always like, call 911, and then you stop the bleed. And I think curiosity, asking a powerful question, is a stop the bleed moment of, what did you see? What is your perspective? Tell me more. And as they get it out, they're able to switch. And I love it. I feel like that's another anchor I need to have is fear and curiosity can't exist. How do you get rid of fear? You start asking questions of yourself even and ask of other people. And it's going to de-escalate that. Now you can start having a logical conversation versus a big emotional one. And I think it will really help. So think about conflict on your team, all of you listeners, whatever's going on, whether it's spoken conflict or unspoken conflict. How can you start asking powerful questions to remove that fear, to get, the conversation going? Mm-hmm. And you talk a lot about powerful questions. Can you guide us into what are some powerful questions? Like, how do we ask powerful questions? What is that, and how do we ask more of them?
So if you're in a team meeting and let's say you're going through the strategy session for the year, and let's say the strategy is already baked in, your numbers are already baked in. This is a conversation of you're giving direction of where the organization is going. At the end of that, ask, what questions do you have? In the sense of, let me just at least invite questions in. Another one is that when you're having a conversation or you're trying to describe something or you're trying to solve something is say, what questions have we not asked? What have I not asked that I need to ask to get underneath this? The other one is, who else needs to be involved in this decision? Mm. Those are three of my favorites.
Yes, I'm immediately flooded with flashbacks of situations where I'm like, I should have asked for so-and-so's input. I would have had a much better decision in this situation if I would have just stopped and asked those questions. Can you tell us those three questions again? These are for my people who are like, pause, I'm going to write these down. What are those three questions that are your favorite and now they're my favorite? What should we be asking?
The first is, what questions do you have? Mm-hmm. What questions did I not ask that I should have asked? And who else needs to be involved in this decision?
That's going to change culture on a team, in an organization. If everybody can start asking those questions, it's going to change the whole dynamic of every conversation you have and every decision you make. And I love that you're doing this work. Thank you for telling us, hey, stay curious with this. And so if we have a leader listening today, and they might be operating more in certainty of, I still have that feeling that I have to know it all, be it all, do it all, put out every single fire, right? Mm-hmm. They're carrying that, I'm going to call it image management. I need to look and act a certain way. And therefore I'm coming at it from certainty, even though I may be an imposter. What are some practical ways that they can start, besides those three powerful questions you just shared, that they can start making that shift of releasing that pressure of certainty so that they can carry about themselves more curiosity of stepping into the conversations? What's something that can help them make that shift?
It's first to give yourself grace of, I don't have to have all the answers. Why am I pretending that I have all the answers, because there's no way one person has all the answers. And it's one of also saying to yourself that it's not my fault I don't have all the answers. I mean, things are moving at such a rapid pace. The internal pressures, external pressures, new legislation, AI technology. I could go on and on and on. You just can't keep up with that, and nor should you. As a leader, your role is you have three things in terms of a leader. One is to set the direction, set the pace, and set the culture. And in order to do that, you need input from others. In our research, so this is tangential to this conversation, that we learned from Gallup that in the history of measuring engagement, they've never seen it so low. 65% of disengagement. And equal to that is, and importantly, is the millennials are the most disengaged. So these are the people between 29 and 40. Now, they make up 35% of the workforce, so that's important. But more important, these would be the individuals that we would be developing to go into senior leader roles in the next decade. And they're saying, we're not interested. So we did a focus group, and we said, what's the source of your disengagement? And they said, my leader doesn't know me and doesn't care to know me. And I said, like, they don't know you have a puppy, or you like to do marathons. Said, no, they don't know what I can contribute to the problem. And I'm at this organization because I want to make a contribution. I want to make an impact. And nobody is asking me to do that. I'm being told what to do. So if leaders hear nothing else from this conversation, it is one of, your people want to be asked their opinion.
Man, that is so good. And I'm thinking of so many movies that are showing this, I don't want to say disgruntled necessarily, quiet quitting. I'm thinking of like Office Space,
right.
Just like, I'm going to show up, job is job. I'm going to come earn a paycheck and do something decent so I can live with myself. But there's so much more that I have to offer, but you're not tapping into any of it. You don't care to tap into it. And taking a hot second to say, I need to bring other people. I need to invite other people to the table. It's so important. That invitation is so important.
Yes.
Looking at, go ahead.
I was just saying, and the nuance is that if they give an opinion, there may be a good reason why you're not going to take action on it. Let them know, I appreciate your thoughts on this. We are going to go in a different direction, and here's why. But I want you to keep bringing me that, right? Sometimes when the loop isn't closed, people say, well, they ask our opinion and then they don't do anything about it. It's one of saying, here's why we went in a different direction, but please keep coming with suggestions.
Yes. And, thinking about suggestions, I told you, I used to teach like creative problem solving with kids. But one of the things that we talked about is, especially in brainstorming ideation type stages, is you may have a question, you may have a perspective or an idea. And because you voiced that, you're going to give the next person a different question, a different idea. And before you know it, by the time we get to the fifth question, boom, that's the way we need to head. We never would have gotten there had everybody not shared their questions and perspectives or ideas the four before. And it's so important that you continue to go down it. You don't want to go down, the rabbit hole and never have anything where you just keep going. So you have to put boundaries on it. But it's so important that you also get people asking those things together, because it brings like this think tank, which I know is kind of a common thing nowadays, bring people together, tiger teams, solve this. But there's a reason why. It's because you're bringing different minds to the table of saying, what's a different way to look at this? Let's all share out loud. But I love the fact that you said, but close the loop. If I have an idea and I bring it to you and you never talk to me about it again, a lot of people have continuous improvement systems in their organizations where people will submit an idea and never hear a thing about it. Why would they continue putting in ideas into your system to make the work better? They're not going to. You've got to close that loop. And that's such an important thing. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I never would have thought about that intentionally. Looking at your curiosity curve, and you have a framework with this, is there anything else that you think our listeners out there need to know? Is there any question I've not asked you that you would like to answer? Let me put it into practice.
I love that. Your quick study here is that, so we backed into the science. We know that curiosity drives performance. And the next question was, well, can it be measured? right? And the answer is yes. And so I have an assessment. It's called the curiosity curve, and it will give you 4 factors of curiosity that make up that diagnostic tool. And the point is that you can go in there on my website, and it'll take you 6 to 7 minutes. You will find out your current level of curiosity, and curiosity can be learned. And curiosity is contagious. And so you begin to have your benchmark of, all right, here I am today. Where am I in 4 months, 6 months, in a year? Have I improved my curiosity? So curiosity can be measured.
That's awesome. And, thinking about how much organizations love OHI scores or indexes, and they may not love them, but they know they're important for organizational health. I think adding curiosity to that whole battery of thought processes and culture is really, really important. But I love how easy you make it as a first step. It starts with me. As the leader, I can go take your assessment and I can work on me. And then as I model, you said it's contagious. So there's your first step entry, guys. Go take her assessment. We'll talk about where to get that in just a second. But take that assessment. It's like stepping on the scale. I got to know the truth of where I'm at so I know where to go next.
Yes.
So
and
good.
the nuance of the assessment is that there are 4 factors that make up curiosity curve. And the power is when you take it as a team and you begin to understand yourself better, but you understand your team members. Mm-hmm. So like, for example, one of the factors is like exploration. So it's people that love to go way out there and what haven't we thought about? What else could we do? If you have someone that has low exploration, they're probably as frustrated as heck because like, oh, here he goes again, here, right? But if you know that about each other, or your spouse, your partner is like, all right, he's going to need to do this for 15 minutes and then we're going to go to solution. Like no self and no others is when you can really create an amazing team.
It's so true. I had a department chair one time that she's like, Bethany, I love you. And you have so many amazing ideas, but I am a doer. And as soon as you start brainstorming, you make me feel stressed because I feel like I'm going to have to go do all those things. And I was like, I appreciate you saying that so much. And I said, I'm going to try to curb. I still, you still show up authentically. I will too. But from that moment on, it shifted. Whenever we would get into how are we going to solve this problem, I would say, let's go into brainstorming for a few minutes and get all the ideas out there. We are not going to do all of these ideas. And Perfect. It gave me this like amazing disclaimer, but I never would have known how I came across to people because I am that explorer. I'm the, how can we go and solve that? All the different ways. And it stressed her out. And because she was safe in telling me that, it changed our relationship and it changed how I ran meetings to solve problems.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great story.
And I love it. And I love that you have an assessment. You make it so much easier versus the hard conversation I had to have where I had to tuck the tail between my legs and say, I'm sorry, I didn't know. And so, as we kind of come to a close with curiosity, is there anything else that you think our leaders need to know? Or are you ready to say, okay, here are your key takeaways. Here's what you need to remember out of curiosity in the episode. So you can take it any way that you want to take it here. Do you want to tell us more or do you want to say, here's the most important part you need to know?
So the one thing that I'll bring up, given that this is a faith-based podcast and it's open to everybody, but I really thought about what does Jesus say about curiosity? And he doesn't use the word curiosity. Curiosity is never mentioned in the Bible, but it's recorded that Jesus asked over 300 questions in the Bible. Who am I? What answers do you have to this? I mean, he answered questions with a question. And so for me, it's like one of the most powerful teachers on wisdom and grace and learning about others through asking questions.
Mm-hmm. Who do you say I am? Man, he was so good at asking questions. And I'm thinking, think of all the conflict that he had to step into, right? You had people that did believe in him, but they still thought he was coming as a military leader. And then you have the Pharisees. They're just like, no, he's more like the Antichrist, I mean, not literally, but figuratively there, thinking that he's blasphemous. And he treated both with curiosity. And it opened up the world of, let's dive into more dialogue and conversation about that. And for people, that are a little more aggressive in that area, I'd just like to remind people, he only flipped tables once.
Yes. Only one time in the market.
Yes. And I really think it was to set off the events that he needed to set off in order to end up on the cross and do what he did for us, dying on the cross for our sins. But Dr. Clary, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. what are some key takeaways that our listeners can really put in their pocket and go apply when it comes to curiosity? If you could say, hey, remember this one thing from this episode, what would it be about curiosity?
So curiosity begins and ends with me, either as a parent, a spouse, a partner, or a leader. So it begins and ends with me, how I show up, how shows up my team. Mm-hmm. That curiosity can be learned, and curiosity drives performance.
Man, those are good. Those are so good. And, let's do the opposite. What is one poor decision that you would warn our leaders to avoid? Like, leaders, don't do this one thing. Come on, you're better than that. What is one poor decision?
Yes, as we climb the corporate ranks, or any ranks, if you will, we become, experts, and we are leading big teams, is that we come with all this confidence and certainty. And certainty is the antidote, to curiosity, in the sense of certainty kills curiosity.
Mm-hmm. Man, so good. Don't be certain. Be humble. Stay humble. Ask questions. Mm-hmm. All right. I love it so much. So, Dr. Clary, where can our listeners go to learn more about you, your work? Where can they get a copy of your book, The Curiosity Curve, and where can they take that assessment?
Yes. So on my website, which is Debra Clary, DebraClary.com, you'll see more publications that I have. You'll learn more about the work that I do. And you can also take the curiosity assessment there, complimentary, take you about 6 minutes. And you can buy my book at local bookstores or Amazon.com.
Awesome. Make sure that you go take that assessment. I can't wait to take it. I want to know. I'm curious about my own curiosity. Dr. Debra Clary, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and expertise. And I know that you're going to make us all better leaders. So thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
All right. Guys, until next time, continue putting in the work of building your life and leadership on the rocks, the essential rocks. God bless. Remember, the most essential rock you can build your life and leadership on is the rock of Jesus Christ. Today's Bible verse comes from Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will.